this is a project that really happened almost by accident back in 2010 when I accidentally discovered that my super fund was investing some of my money in tobacco. And as a cancer doctor, for me, that was an exquisitely bad fit. I was very disappointed to find out that I hadn't really looked into it. I didn't really know what my super fund was doing with my money. But I was also a bit disappointed that the super fund hadn't really let me know what they were doing with their money either. So I looked into it, and the more I found, the more I realised that it wasn't just one super fund. It was really a very common investment practice for all super funds and insurance companies, banks, the finance industry in general. And I also really understood that it wasn't just me who would be a bit concerned to find out about this. It would be other health professionals, other hospitals, and I really thought the Australian community in general would feel a bit disappointed if they knew about it. So I started working with super funds, and to cut a very long story short, at the moment 16 super funds in Australia, some big funds, have decided to completely get rid of tobacco investment. So far the grand total of divestment is worth more than $1.2 billion of Australians' money. And I'm currently working with many other super funds and finance institutions to encourage them to take a look at the same issue. Well, look, it's interesting. I just did a little taking it to the streets session on the streets of Melbourne last week, where I spent 3 hours with a microphone interviewing passers-by about what they thought. And you're right, the vast majority of Australians are unaware that a small percentage of their money is directly invested in big tobacco companies. The vast majority of Australians are not smokers, so only 17% of Australians continue to smoke, and all of the evidence shows that the majority of them really regret that they started smoking and have tried to quit at least once. So really the vast majority of Australians do not support big tobacco, yet because of the compulsory nature of our superannuation system, nearly all Australians in fact are investing in the tobacco industry. Yeah, there have been some roadblocks, and look, it's really my goal to work through whatever issues it is that each super fund might present as a potential problem. A couple of the common ones, one of some super funds really think that the tobacco issue in Australia is over. You know, we've won the fight, the numbers of smokers keep decreasing, you know, do we really need to worry about this anymore? And on that point, I like to point out that it's true that in Australia the tobacco industry has very limited power now because we have excellent regulation, and we also have a really high level of public education. But that's not the same in the developing world, and the tobacco industry knows that. And so in the past 5 to 10 years, it's very rapidly expanded in the developing world, and they've really very deliberately targeted young people, particularly children, and tried to encourage them to start smoking. And so I try to ask people to think of what we're doing in Australia and how that is affecting what's happening overseas. We're really endorsing that behaviour of the tobacco industry if we continue to invest in the product. Oh look, I've been very lucky. I've made some great contacts in the super industry, and when I work with one super fund over a period of time, generally that finishes off and then they'll very kindly introduce me to their colleagues in other super funds. So look, I've got really great, strong relationships across the super industry, finance industry, throughout the peak bodies of all of the super funds, and starting to sort of move into the banking world a bit. So I'm as busy as I can be at the moment, so I'm not complaining. I'm able to meet with people when I want to, and I've been really impressed with the super industry that they've been so open to letting me come in, meet with their teams, meet with their boards, have this discussion, and you know, who knows where it will end up.